Chapter 4. Bad Idea. We pulled up to the Sun Hotel with the burnt out letter N. We jokingly called it the Sioux Hotel. With the big race in town, most hotels are booked, but this place was in our budget since we just purchased a new van. The pay of my job as a CNA at the nursing home wasn't too bad, but Mike made more as a field engineer for a local retail company. Mike parked the car in front of the room. He grabbed his backpack and jacket, pulled out the room key, and rushed toward the brown door. He shoved it open and stormed over to the scuff-marked dresser. He tossed his backpack on the musty green carpet. I watched as he lifted off his red-stained shirt and dropped it into the trash can. His tan, athletic body had me feeling warm inside. I was strangely turned on by his vexation. On his left arm was a tattoo of his grandfather's name on a dagger. Mike had been very close to his grandfather until his grandfather died during the war when Mike was 7. He pulled a black t-shirt over his washboard stomach, then aggressively grabbed his suitcase and tossed it on the bed. He took his clothes out of the dresser and threw them in the bag. I was sensing some irritability. "We're leaving," he said as he continued to toss the clothes in his suitcase without even folding them. Watching him do that made me cringe since I like everything folded neatly. "Wait," I hesitated. "What if we don't go?" "What?" he mumbled. He continued to pack, not even looking up. They may know we are here. It's not safe. We're going home." "We can run, but what if they follow us?" I said. "They may never stop searching for us. Think about our family, my parents, your parents, our friends." I paused for a brief second. "We don't even know who they are or what they want." "What are you saying, Amber?" He stopped tossing the clothes. "Fight back? We may have survived against 9 men, but what if next time it's 20 or 30? We may not be so lucky. I don't know if our powers are strong enough for that kind of army. We are not superheroes, nor are we immortal. Leave the stuff up to the police." I took a breath and let it out softly. "I understand why you would feel that way, but we need to think about this. What would we do once we get home? Gather up our families and hide? Our mothers may be the firstborn of our kind, but their abilities have never awoken, and they don't even know who they are. How are they going to understand what we're going through?" I stepped closer and looked into his chocolate eyes. "It's too risky to involve them. This isn't their fight. We need a plan." Mike looked down while twirling his shirt and breathing inconsistently. His thoughts were shut off, but I knew he agreed with me. He rubbed the nape of his neck as he sat at the bed. Calmly he asked, "What do you suggest?" I joined him on the bed and brainstormed. An idea came to mind. "We need to find out who they are and what they want." I remember hearing the director's thoughts. He said I was pregnant with a Diamond Star child, but we both know I can't have children. Are you slightly curious why they would think that? I suppose there is a minuscule part of me that is interested in their incomprehensible thoughts, but they are trained soldiers. We can read minds and throw things," Mike said. "But they need me alive. We need bait." I paused with a grin. I was thinking about letting them willingly take me to their leader of the group. Mike tapped into my thoughts. "Oh no, absolutely not," he shouted as he stood up, waving his hands. "I'm not letting them take you." "Mike, they want me alive," I said. "Just hear me out. I will pretend I'm sleeping, and you can watch the room door from inside the car across the way. Once they take me, follow them. At the right time, I will telepathically let you know when to attack with your gun." Mike paced back and forth as he tried to process what I'd just said. I stood up and reached for his arm. "Think about it. This is my only way to get inside. Once they take me to wherever their home base is, we can take out their leader. Remember, Mike, we are powerful. What's the point of having these powers if we can't use them?" "This is a bad idea," he grumbled. Mike stared at me in silence, and I patiently waited for his decision. He knew this was the only idea we had. We needed answers. I gave him my puppy dog eyes with my lip out. He held back from chuckling, inhaled, and sighed. Okay, he murmured. You think this is going to work? I do. You know this is a terrible idea, right? Probably, but it's the only idea we got. We both just stood in silence, nervously thinking about how this could play out. I needed to lighten the intensity of the room a little. Do it for the blue Camaro? I said jokingly. The blue Camaro, he said with a winsome smile. Mike tossed the shirt onto the bed and leaned down to kiss me on the lips. He pulled back, leaving his hands on my waist. Do you remember the first time we made love? Mike asked. His dark brown eyes melted my heart, and I beamed with joy. How can I forget the union? After our powers merged, you went flying across the room into a clothes basket, and the bed broke. He adjusted my necklace to center the dove. Well, yeah, that was intense. But the feeling you give me inside, the warm vibration, the unconditional love, and the trust you give in return. I know our relationship was complicated throughout the years. The pushing and pulling, the timing wasn't always on our side, but now I'm glad to call you not just my best friend, but my wife. I wouldn't want to go on this journey with anyone else. Even though we had known each other for 8 years, we had never been single at the same time to further our relationship past the friendship stage. Not until we both broke up with our last partners had the window of opportunity presented itself. A little over 2 years ago, his wife at the time left him for a woman. Not long after that, I left my ex-husband, Stephen, because of his endless nights of alcoholic rages and mental abuse. Rumor had it he still had a terrible drinking problem. We leaned in to kiss as he placed his hand back on my waist, mine on his face. His facial hair tickled my hands, and his mustache tickled my upper lip. I grabbed the bottom of Mike's shirt, lifting it over his head, and dropped it onto the floor. His silver chain rested on his muscular chest, glistening from the light seeping through the sheer curtains on the window. My hand slid up his smooth, hairless torso, over his broad shoulders, and down his soft, well-defined arms, feeling the ripples of his biceps and triceps. We continued to kiss. My tongue glided over his. He pulled back, grabbed my shirt, lifted it over my head, and then threw it across the room. Our breathing was quick and excited. My heart thumped, and we kissed some more. I spun around and he unhooked my bra. Then he pushed the strap slowly off my shoulders. The bra slid down my arms and onto the floor. I slid my hair to the side and felt his warm breath on the back of my neck. With my back against his cold chest, I turned my neck to the right to see him gliding his right hand over my tattoo on my upper right arm. Just before our union, I saw a vision of a symbol of an orange and blue yin-yang. I had it permanently tattooed on my body. Mike spun me back around and grabbed my right breast with his left hand, while his right hand was on my left side. He then kissed on the right side of my neck, moving down to my chest, and placed his lips on my right nipple while squeezing my breast. Gently nibbled my nipple, followed by a slight sucking sensation, and sent a warm feeling. I let out an enormous sigh while throwing my neck back with my eyes closed. I took another deep breath, and with my eyes still closed, suddenly I was taken back to the day of the union, back in the room where we'd first made love. The one time being a visionary had its perks. Not all visions spiked my fear. My eyes opened, and the 5 seconds of the trigger was over. I was back in the hotel room. This would not stop me from continuing to make love to my husband. We both took our bottoms off, and Mike laid down on the bed. I climbed on top of him, my legs around his hips. We locked both of our hands together as the hot and cold flowed through them. I thrusted forward at the same time he thrusted upward, feeling him slide inside me. He hit a spot that made me moan softly. My body rocked slowly up and down. Closing my eyes while the warm vibration continued through my entire body, I bit my lower lip as I was soaking in the pleasant wave of energy. My eyes opened to see the picture of a blue Camaro. I was back to the day of the union, where the poster sat on the wall above Mike's bed. Taking in the satisfaction of his pleasurable touch and him inside me, the smell of his cologne surrounded the air of his old place. I recognized the bed's unique squeak from every motion we made. My eyes shut briefly, and as I slowly opened them, I was back in the hotel staring at the ugly old beach photo above the bed, and the smell of the musty basement returned. I focused on his radiant brown eyes and moaned as the warm sensation moved throughout my body. He grabbed my hips, and we continued to thrust into one another. The passion shared between us was so intense, my body still tingled, and we both sweated profusely. With the mattress being old, the frame screeched a high pitched sound with our movement. He then lifted me off. I was now lying on my stomach with my face on the pillow. I felt his breath on my neck, sending a shiver down my spine. Mike slowly slid inside me. My body trembled with every push. A faint moan from me and a louder moan from him. After a few minutes of this pleasure, he flips me over. I was now lying on my back and he was on top of me. The vibration stopped. He pressed his lips on mine. Our tongues gently slid together. The flashes continued from the union to the present time. This wouldn't hinder me from enjoying the sexual moment with my husband. If anything, it brought me closer, keeping the memories fresh of the pleasurable times. Then Mike pulled away from my lips and softly pecked down the left side of my neck. He continued down to my breast and gently pressed his cool lips on my left nipple. I could feel his tongue slide around and then a slight sucking sensation as he pulled away. We locked eyes, and with a pleased smile, he pressed his body on top of mine. I rocked upward in unison with his motion. The slow, passionate sex was now becoming vigorous and fast. I felt my eyes warm with flames of fire, and his brown eyes shifted to blue crystals of ice. The feeling of vibration came back, and my body was going from hot to cold like fire and ice. We thrusted harder and faster. The bed was now vibrating. I ignored it since this was a repetitive matter that occurred during our lovemaking. As we connected as one, the hot sweat that slid down from my forehead turned into a solid ice crystal before it hit the pillow. A cold bead of sweat left his forehead and dripped onto the pillow beside me and steams. The lights flickered, but we kept thrusting faster. The radio came on, but we continued to exert ourselves. The bed was still shaking. His body was wet, but cold to the touch. We were breathing heavier and heavier, and my heart rate was rising. Still rocking back and forth, the radio volume went up and down. The TV randomly turned on, then off, but we didn't want to stop. I was getting close to my peak. Soft-colored flames glow around him, glistening with orange and red colors. I saw my skin shimmering with blue crystals. Mike pushed a little more, and our powers merged. My eyes became cold, glowing with ice, and I gazed into his fiery orangish red. We suddenly climaxed together. A burst of energy rippled through our entire body. A bright flash of white filled the room. Mike collapsed beside me. I opened my eyes slowly while trying to find my breath. Mike turned his head to me and smiled from ear to ear while his breath came raged and uneven. This was exactly what we needed before tonight's plan of action. He reached over to my left hand and placed his in mine. Our matching wedding bands were engraved, Forever Love. He was my forever love, and I wouldn't want to be going down this journey with anyone else.